I did one of them in Raleigh, and you see a picture here of what our green screen setup is. I did one day live in Raleigh, and then we missed a couple of folks, and we did remote shoots with a crew there and me participating virtually, doing the question and answering remotely. So we've had 3 film shoots so far, which has been a total of 6 filming days. 23 candidates that we have filmed so far. We're about to add 10 to 12 more tomorrow, but this is where we are as of today. Over 45 hours of footage. And as Julie mentioned, what I do is a documentary style interview, where rather than scripting candidates, because I think the most amazing thing about these folks is that they are real people. So the last thing I would want to do is put them behind a desk with a script. I kind of speak to them and I prompt them to talk about the whole variety of issues that I know are going to come up in a state leg race, and the various permutations of those issues, and allow them to kind of talk in their own words. And also, you know, where I feel we need to get certain buzzwords or direct them in a certain way, or maybe they don't have the facts and figures at hand, you know, supply them with those and sort of coach them a little. So there's some media training that goes along with this, so that they're not just saying we need Medicaid expansion. They're saying Medicaid expansion would mean 500,000 people in North Carolina would get health care. It would mean $6 billion would come back to the state, and 43,000 jobs. So while some of the candidates will speak very fluently like that, some of them don't have that at their disposal. So part of my job in creating their ad is to credentialize them by having them speak and be able to recite these facts. And then they go out and they're stronger and better candidates, you know, afterwards from having done that. So Aimy Steele, who you're gonna have the pleasure of meeting in person, virtually, sort of here soon, is one of the candidates that we filmed in Raleigh. Aimy, I make no bones about it, is my absolute, we must get her across the finish line candidate. And that's in part because, like many that we've seen since Trump was elected, this is Amy's second run. You know, she ran in 2018, nobody gave her a chance, and she came within 1,100 votes of winning a race nobody thought she had a chance in. And she no sooner did that election end, she started the next one. So I couldn't be more thrilled to be supporting someone like Aimy, who has put in the blood, sweat, and time to do this right, and really has an excellent game plan and just needs the support that we can give her. So we sat with Aimy and we did the documentary style interview. We talked about everything from Medicaid expansion to Aimy as a principal and former teacher. We talked about education, which remains a very top issue in North Carolina. So I knew we would make a variety of spots for Aimy, but really what became a first priority was what I call Amy's superpower is her personality and her ability to door knock a ridiculous amount of doors, which is what she did in 2018. And she actually turned out an incredible number of low propensity African American and other voters of color that hadn't voted in past elections. And she really did that in large part to the sheer force of her personality and her willingness to knock all these doors. So here comes Aimy running again in 2020. She's got name ID. She's a seasoned candidate. She knows how to raise money now. 31st Street helped get her off to a great start. But she's had her superpower taken away from her. She can't knock doors. And the wonderful news is she's got a better map, as Jim referenced, because gerrymandering has been undone. But the downside of that is she can't knock on their doors. So what I said to Aimy in the course of our session was, look, I'm going to have you do a virtual door knock. I want you to, normally they look at me for the documentary style, said I want you to look directly into the camera, and I want you to actually knock, 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 do a door knock, and walk me through what you would say to a voter if you knocked their door. And so this is Aimy in the green screen on the left. This is the software that I utilize. We upload the footage to the software, and what it does is it spits out a transcript for me of everything Aimy said, and it has a video box. So I can click on any part of the transcript and I can actually see Aimy deliver that line. So maybe she says something 3 times, but the 3rd time is when she sticks the landing, and I know that's the one I want to get. And you see where I've highlighted, I cut and paste, and I pass that on to my editor and say, give me this piece from up here, this piece from down here. I want this as the close. Let me see how that all comes together. And then once we've agreed on what I kind of call a reverse script, the editor then works his magic to make it come to life. So this is the virtual door knock video that we made for Aimy. I'm going to show you it first, and then I'm going to explain to you what we did with it.
Knock, knock, it's Aimy Steele, and I'm running for the North Carolina House of Representatives. This is me showing up at your door, but kinda online. It's my pleasure to meet you. I want to help restore professionalism to public education and help you by expanding Medicaid and making sure you can live and work in the same community that you call home. Thank you for opening up this video message, and please make sure you vote in the fall.
So that's Aimy. So the first part of the digital obviously is making the content, deciding what you want. The second part of the magic is targeting it to exactly who you want to get it with the funds that you have. So what we really did here was we targeted at what we call sweet spot audience with a unique platform. So I mentioned before that Aimy, you know, has this new part of her district. And I said to Aimy, if you could knock doors tomorrow, where are the first doors you'd go to? And she said, well, I would go to those new precincts that are now a part of my map that I didn't get to meet in 2018. I would go to every African-American and Latino voter, and I would knock their door. So I went to my folks who do my targeting for me, and I said, pull me here are the 12 precincts that are new in Amy's district. I want you to pull me every voter in the voter file in there that's African-American or Latino. We added to that likely drop-off voters. We wanted to find those voters that vote in presidential elections, and then sometimes they don't go all the way down the ballot. So who's gonna be there voting for Joe Biden in the fall that I wanna make sure knows Amy's name? And so what we did is we pulled an audience of anyone who took a Democratic presidential ballot in this past March that did not vote in state leg in 2018. Because that to us is like, wow, those are the people we really need to get their attention. They'll be there in the fall. We need to make sure they know Aimy. Aimy happened to run a primary this March, so we removed anyone who did vote for Aimy in the primary, because we know if they were educated enough to vote for her in a primary, they're going to vote for her in November as well. So that gave us an audience of 8,400 voters. So we targeted that ad that you just saw through connected TV, which Jim mentioned earlier. So that's all of the streaming ways that you can stream video content, whether it's through Hulu, whether it's Roku, Apple TV, your Fire Stick, however you're getting your content. A lot of people now with sports, for instance, my son watches the MLB games through the MLB app. He streams everything. In order to get to the next inning, you've got to watch a commercial. So that's the kind of stuff that we're bidding on. So we're really kind of creating, we're getting a TV viewing experience at a minuscule fraction of the price, because we're talking about a digital ad. So these are the kind of devices that we serve those on. This, so I can see what that is. Yeah, Facebook. And the results that we see with this are that we get really big bang for the buck. So just so you know what it looks like on Facebook, this is what the ad on Facebook looks like, that the person will click and see the video. We have a little introduction there. We get weekly metric reports. So on connected TV, as I was mentioning to you, I want to give you an example of how far a dollar can go toward this work. We spent $635 targeting those 8,400 voters in Amy's district that we wanted to talk to. And with that $635, we got 10,000 impressions. So 10,600 people viewed the ad. 9,088 of them were full views of the entire ad of Aimy for $630. We think that that is an investment that really can't be beat in any other way. That's a 94% full view rate for the people who received the video. This was especially important in Amy's district, and I want folks to know that I call this PAC sometimes the little engine that could, because it's really nothing like these dark money PACs, but we do our best to counter those dark money PACs. And in Amy's race, this was particularly important to us, because a dark money group put $190,000 in cable TV ad buys and 5 mailers as well up against Aimy for her opponent over July and August. And it was really making me pretty nuts that she had no response. She wasn't up in any way. So we were able to get this spot up because we had it ready and we produced it and we had the funds to put behind it to get Aimy present during this time when her opponent was up. So this is just what we're calling a little by the numbers to sort of give you a cumulative sense of what we've been able to do to date. So,
hey, Chris,
yes.
both because I think it's a perfect point now, and because
Oh, you want to go to Aimy? Yep.
We want to get Aimy back doing whatever we hope she's wrapping up. Let's go to her. Aimy, are you unmuted and able
Yes.
to? Okay, well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Christine. Thank you, Jim, and all of the friends from 31st Street. I can't tell you how you guys have literally changed my life, my campaigning life, my personal life. I really thank you for your support and for your concern about North Carolina as a whole. So based on what Christine was telling you, I just want to kind of give you some follow-up. Christine is amazing. She's masterful at her craft. And I will tell you, you know, people have come up to me in the grocery store with with my mask on, their mask on, to say, you know, I saw your ad on this place, that place, my phone, my TV, here, there, and everywhere. One woman said, if, you know, I see you in my home so much that I'm going to have to start charging you rent because you're in my home so much, from a digital perspective and now from a mail perspective. But I can't tell you how much this has been a game changer for the Steele campaign, particularly because, as I mentioned, or as Christine mentioned before, African-American voters are often touted rather as the voters who are backbones of the party and things like that. And while those accolades are, you know, admonishable and we appreciate that, at the end of the day, voters need to be courted, all voters. And there is a sect of voters that have not been courted in previous years. And I call that the African-American forgotten voters. And those are the voters who have registered to vote, but they don't maybe see the importance of voting in every single election. And so my campaign did a really risky thing in 2018 by trying to target all low propensity African-American voters who had a turnout score of 0 to 40%. And so going after those voters was risky, but at the end of the day, you know, no one else was going to go after them. So it was either us or no one. And so we decided to take that opportunity to go and find those voters. In doing so, we had very, very good results. But in 2020, now with COVID, we're unable to knock doors. And that literally has been where we've had the majority of the conversations that have not only converted people to thinking about voting often and more than just in the general election every 4 years, but it's also helped them to take responsibility for other voters over the age of 18 in their homes. We actually had a question when we went on doors and made phone calls to all voters. And the main question was, will you take responsibility for ensuring that every other registered voter in your home is able to vote on the day of the election? And those voters who said yes had a 90% or higher chance of turning out, and they actually did turn out to vote in our post-election analysis. So when I tell you now that we can't knock doors, but the funds you all have invested in Our States Matter, as well as in just 31st Street in general, have helped us to turn our knocking game into our digital game, it's truly been a difference maker. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm also very appreciative of the efforts. And I will tell you, every other North Carolina candidate on the slate you all have chosen to support is also extremely appreciative. And we wish we could come and just give you big hugs and kisses on the cheeks, but we can't touch. But we're very thankful for your support. So thank you, Christine. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Julie, and everyone else. I'll take questions if you have them, or we can reserve those for the end.
Well, are you going to be able to stay on, or should we do the questions now? I'd like to, respect your time. So how about if we just have, if we just have 2 questions now?
Sure.
And does anybody want to unmute and ask Aimy anything right now? Because she's going to check off, and then we'll go back to Chris.
Looks like Harriet wants to ask a question, maybe.
Yes,
There you
okay.
Oh,
There you are.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. Great to hear you. It was reported to me that in a discussion with some Black women leaders in North Carolina, I think a couple of days ago, about the election and how it was going to unfold. And she made a prediction that it was going to be the Black women of North Carolina that were going to deliver a win. Do you want to comment on that?
Yes. First, I don't know who said it, but I concur. I believe there are, many, groups of people who have rallied together to say, we're going to take it on as our responsibility to get communities of color out to vote. I speak fluent Spanish, and I will tell you the Latinx community is also on board with ensuring they vote for someone, right? But the Democratic nominee for president and all down the ticket are the someones that they're talking about. So I do believe that Black women are going to be a ticket changer and a game changer for North Carolina. There are so many great qualities about women in general that make women the ones who are going to take this election. But when you add the element of being disenfranchised for so many years, I think Black women are taking that personally this year. And from what I hear, they're making sure their relatives, families, friends, etc., are showing up to vote. And they're also doing this thing called absentee ballot chasing in North Carolina, which is really cool to watch because they're chasing down these ballots to make sure they're done correctly. And if people don't have their ballots accepted, but they've requested one, they're finding out, what's the status of it, because we can't see the results of the status of those absentee ballots. And there are larger groups of Black women taking on that responsibility as well. So Harriet, I call that person's prediction and I raise them 100 votes.
Great.
so good. Here's one last question for you from Reed Detchen. Do these digital tools get good penetration in the African American community?
Okay, they do. And I know Christine probably has some metrics on that. The reason I know this is because my family, we have the largest Black church in Cabarrus County, and we are getting calls, texts, emails. I send some of them to Chris sometimes because people are just overwhelmed with how many impressions they're seeing. And they're not overwhelmed in a negative way, but these are Black folks in Cabarrus County who are saying, oh my gosh, you're doing a great job. I can't believe I saw you on the CNN app, the CNBC, Charlotte Observer, London Times. Someone saw me there because that's the media they take in. And I thought, well, I'm sure that I'm not in London, but I appreciate, but they receive the app and they're in my district. So it is, overwhelming, but overwhelmingly positive that people, particularly African-American people, are receiving the ads and they're responding positively, but they're also responding almost with a sense of pride that they're so happy for me, but they're so excited that we're taking this election seriously and that other people are investing in my ability to win and flip the seat. They know it's not just me alone. It takes an entire village and a community. So the old African proverb, it takes a village, is coming to life, and it's remarkable to see. But I'll tell you, it's remarkable to see within my students because I've taught or impacted, or touched the lives of over 3,000 students in Cabarrus County, and that has made the difference as well. So I can't tell you how much it's made a difference. So we thank you.
Great. Well, let's give Aimy Steele a round of applause, and then you're welcome to stay on as long as you like, Amy. But thanks so much for joining us. It's great. Always great.
Thank you. I will say this, Julie. I'm going to have my campaign manager put my phone number in the chat. If you'd like to text me directly and talk to me or call me and ask me some questions this week, please feel free. We've got 7 weeks to go and we need all hands on deck. So if you have a question that I can help answer, I owe you guys my time. So whatever you want to ask, please text me or call me during the week and we'll take care of it.
So much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Chris, back to you.
Okay, so a couple quick things I just want to pick up on what Amy said. You asked about whether we are penetrating with African-American voters, and we absolutely are. We get weekly metric reports, and as of middle of last week, we were at about 300,000 full views on Amy's ads. So We are really, really, really happy, you know, to be at week 8 and have 300,000 full views, you know, in a universe that's probably about 60,000 people. We're really happy with that. The other thing that I wanted to say about that was that one of the great things you can do with digital is that we can tailor messaging, because ultimately as a messenger, I want to create content that each one of you is going to be interested in, and you're not all going to be interested in the same thing. So Amy's is a perfect example. Education was the #1 issue in her poll to voters, but we noticed something when we looked at the polling, and that was that for our base universe, which is all African American and Latino voters, all the way down to a turnout score of 0, they liked the education piece that talked about Amy's poor upbringing and how education was the vehicle from poverty to prosperity for her. And that was a piece, the very first ad that 31st Street funded this cycle, called My Story. We found that our persuasion universe, which is white voters primarily, liked better the frame of Amy as a former principal and teacher, talking about the need to attract and retain good teachers and raise teacher pay. So we at the same time have those 2 spots running to different audiences. You know, the idea being we're serving them content that's going to resonate more with them. So that's one of the other cool things that we're able to do with digital. I'll also piggyback on Amy talking about the early vote. We are getting on a daily basis any ballots that have been turned in already. We are notified through the van system and the party. We're pulling them out of our universe, so we're not going to be paying to message to them. And that money then that we have will go further to people that are still out there. And the last thing with Amy's is that we are in sync with the mail program. So we've been delivering messaging on education at the same time the mail pieces on education are coming into people's mailboxes. And then next week we'll be pivoting to, my dog wants to join, we'll be pivoting to healthcare, which also happens to be the same week that the mail is pivoting. So everything syncs up and lines up really nicely. I'm going to return back to my share screen. Hang on.
Yeah, I think this is now going to be the big picture of stepping back from Aimy Steele, the ads for Aimy Steele, and it's what else has been happening in North Carolina with the digital ad initiative. So Chris is going to tell us some numbers about ads made and distributed and footage used and all sorts of things. So that's what she's pulling up now. So you get, you know, the overview.
So back to this. Current slide. Okay, so we just finished up there. So this is what we call our by the numbers. So we have candidates that we filmed. We have filmed 23 to date. I am on my way to Raleigh today, so that number is going to go up to 35 because I'll be filming 12 more candidates that we haven't filmed yet tomorrow. Next, we have, video ads that we've in-kinded to candidates. We're up to 35 already, which I'm pretty thrilled about given that it is only mid-September. Next, we have ad buys, which these are actual candidate ads that the PAC has so far put ad buys behind. And there we are up to 7, which that will increase soon, but we have a lot of candidates that are paying for their own buys right now. So we're letting them go ahead and do that, and then we'll hop in. And then there's what we call the seed, which is where we've provided the footage, and now campaigns are actually cutting to have the specific ads made that they need based on their polling. So we're up to 10 ads that we have created from our footage at this point. The last thing I just want to talk about is really one of the goals of this package is to leverage and incentivize digital. For some of you may have been in my earlier presentations, you know that one of the things that we talk about here is how the Democrats have been slower to get on the digital bandwagon compared to Republicans. As you all know, Trump rode Facebook to the White House and really runs a digital first campaign. And part of what we view the mission of the PAC to be is to take steps that will leverage and incentivize Democratic candidates and parties to be smarter and use digital more. So I use what I call a field of dreams organizing approach, which you all know is if you build it, they will come. So the if you build it is we raise the money first to get the film shoot in the can and to take that expense off of all of these candidates and parties. And then we create a couple digital spots and we in-kind the spots. With the idea of if we can provide them with something really cool and it's super easy for them, they've already done a shoot, they don't have to do anything new, we then incentivize them to take their own funds and then use these high quality ads and push them out with ad buys. They will come is the second part of this, obviously. So I want to give you an idea kind of how this has played out so far. So we filmed 4 judicial candidates who run statewide in North Carolina. 2 are African-American women, 2 white women. We got them to come. Jim and Julie agreed that I could in-kind the film shoot to them. We lured them in with that. We got them on film. We made a sample ad for them that had all 4 of them in it. And since that time, we've now had the 4 come to us and combined bring $450,000 that they're going to now invest in ad buys for us to cut some additional ads for them and push them out. So it's a perfect example to me that if we didn't take the step of getting the footage and making a spot, this would not be happening. We also have the North Carolina Democratic Party, and I'm not missing a 0 there. I'm going to give you a preview of what we're doing for them. But we're creating tomorrow, something that I'm filming, and we've already created something that they are very excited about. They didn't even have a digital plan at this point. They have a preserve our state, vote the slate, where they're basically just trying to get everyone to just pull the lever and vote Democrat all the way down the ticket. So we're coming tomorrow to help film something for them on that. But we've also made a 15-second spot, which I'll show you. They have now pledged to try and put $300,000 behind those spots. We also have a spot that we made for the 4 African-American women that are running statewide that they're also trying to raise money to put behind. And then we have our state ledge candidates, which I'm giving a ballpark number here of $500,000, but I really think at the end of the day, there will be more in ad buys that they will spend than that combined in our tier 1 races. But as you can see, we're well over $1 million in terms of money that we've attracted and incentivized people to invest in good quality digital. And also we are guiding them on how to best target and utilize those funds. So I just couldn't be happier about where we're sitting right now. So here's what I want to show you. I mentioned this preserve our state, vote the slate. The party threw this idea out to me and I said, hey, how about if we in-kind you a 15-second graphic spot around this concept of just getting people to vote Democratic statewide all the way down the ticket. And then also we could come and film a spot, film a longer spot. So this is the 15-second spot that we created. So quick and simple, flashy, digital. They will now have that to be able to take to the groups that they're trying to get invest in this project. And I think I'm very excited about it. I think this is really going to help them raise money. And literally it took one of our editors to do a couple of hours to create this for us. And then I won't, I don't know how much time we have, so I'll stop this, Julie, if you want me to, but I do want you all to get a look at what we did with the 4 African-American statewide. Harriet, you mentioned this idea that this North Carolina will be won by Black women. I happen to believe that 4 African-American women, a historic number who are running for statewide office, are going to deliver the final blow here, and that we are going to be able to utilize their voices and their stories to help engage Black voters up and down the ticket to come out. So I'm going to give you a taste of what this looks like. Julie, if you want me to cut it off, just let me know.
Let's just go through that.
Actively right now, it takes courage.
I'm running statewide to make sure from Murphy to Manio that every working family is given the respect and dignity that we all deserve in the workplace.
To get to a more fair and just system for everyone.
I'm not doing this to be something. I am really doing this to do something.
I'm Sherry Beasley, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of North Carolina.
I am State Representative Yvonne Lewis Holly, your Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor.
I'm Jessica Holmes, and I'm running for Labor Commissioner.
My name is Judge Laura Christine Covich, and I am running for the North Carolina Court of Appeals. This year will be a monumental election.
It's more important now than ever to cast your vote.
We need you to be involved.
Vote Democratic, up and down the ticket.
We're going to change the face of government.
Let's make history.